And if you are a business owner and you think you do not need consistent development when it comes to sales, like you need your head screwed on. This week, we're joined by Luke Robinson, who is head of sales coaching here at Fitness Marketing Agency. Because the better you are at sales, ultimately, like the better your business is going to be and the more revenue you're going to generate.
Every other objection, I think, is closable in fitness. I think you're dealing with someone with a broken mindset and beliefs.
They cut corners and they're like, why is this not working? Why am I not making any sales? And then, as you said, they then start looking at everything else going on apart from them.
So there's that saying, you either close them on a reason why they should, or they'll close you on a reason why they shouldn't. If you prioritize your own comfort over someone else's transformation, that is the pure definition of being selfish. And I'm not in this industry to be selfish. You stop effing calling this company, we don't want to hear from you anymore. I'd call the next day with a different name.
We hope you enjoy. Luke Robinson, welcome to the podcast. It feels weird saying your second name because we sit opposite each other every day on a desk, and now we're doing it in podcast format. But yeah, welcome. This is your first appearance on the podcast. And the reason why you are on here today is because we're going to be diving all into sales. And before we do, I would love for you to give a bit of a background about your experience in sales, because you haven't worked in the fitness industry your whole life. You've come from a different industry, and that has massively impacted the sales that our clients have been making and contributed to the growth that they've been making. So if you can give me kind of a run through of your sales background and kind of the numbers you were doing, and just run us through what it was like there, and then we'll move into more fitness related sales.
Yeah. Thanks for having me as well. So I've been in sales probably about 10, 11 years, and there's been a few changes in that, but the primary thing I was doing before FMA was recruitment. So people have like a thing about sales, it's like Wolf of Wall Street, and that was like the British dumbed down version is what I was in. So it was very much 100 people on a shop floor, you would call it, but it's just an office, rows of desks, just people standing up making calls, but only 30 chairs, and it's whoever makes the most dials like within the last segment gets a chair. So you're all fighting, trying to get a chair, trying to make sales. There's TVs everywhere with your dialing stats live, like your dials, talk time. So just really a competitive environment. Like you had to beat the person next to you. You're not there for like friendly colleagues or for chit chat. It's like, I want to beat you in every way, and in the amount of money I make, the sales I make, the dials.
And where you were working, it's not exclusively like that, just in that one location. That's kind of how it is within that industry across the board.
Yeah, I would definitely say I was in because if people would join, that was my first into recruitment, so I wasn't aware of what it was like other than that. But people that would join from other recruitment companies would always say, oh, this is the most intense place I've ever been. And so it was pretty mental. And
just to like dial down like what your job role was, it was just to call people that hadn't inquired to your service, to any sort of recruitment service.
Yeah.
And just run me through like what it was you had to do.
Yeah, so there's parts of it that are quite scummy, but yeah, I would essentially, all the companies I worked with were in America, so I would go on Google, and I was in the pharmaceutical industry, so I would type pharmaceutical companies in New York, pharmaceutical companies in Massachusetts, and I'd pull all of the numbers onto a spreadsheet, put them in a dialer, and I would just call. But I didn't even have a name of the person that I'm trying to call. I would just call the company and try and say, hey, who deals with hiring for this? And just try and navigate my way through like a gatekeeper, we would call them. But then I'd also go on job boards, and I would have lists of potential candidates who could be good for a job. And I would call them pretending I have a job to try and qualify them as a potential person that wants a job, and then try and essentially sell them to the market. So I would call companies and say, oh, I'm working with a guy called Charlie who's great at marketing. He does this, he does that. Do you want to interview him? And that was kind of the sale you were making.
So basically you were just cold calling every day. You had zero opt-in, zero register for interest. You were just calling outbound, proper cold calling. And how many dials were you making a day?
If you wanted a chair, you had to do $350.
So if you didn't do that, you couldn't sit down.
You'd be standing up.
So
yeah.
A really, really competitive and difficult environment to be in. And the reason why I wanted you to lay that out is that you came to work for us as a salesperson at FMA, but you've started and you do coach all of our clients. And because of that, their conversion rates have gone up massively. But the reason I wanted you to lay out that recruitment scenario is that how different was it from that situation to speaking to a gym owner where they've got someone that has entered their name, their email, their telephone number, maybe they filled in an application, but the people that are calling them are saying, the leads are bad. I don't believe that this person's right for the business. They didn't want to buy. They said this, they said that. Like if you had that information in your old job, how much easier would have your life been?
Oh, I think what's funny is when I joined FMA, I didn't know what marketing was. I think it's quite like it's probably the same with a lot of business owners, right? You don't know, you just qualify in fitness and you don't know what marketing is. And then when I saw what was happening, I was like, no way people have this. Like, I didn't even have a name. So when I hear people now talk about my lead isn't qualified, for me back then, I didn't even have a name. So a name would have been qualification. Like if you said, here's this person that works at that company, I'd have been like, the fact you've given me a name is gold dust. Like that is all my job. That's my job so much easier. So the fact you get name, number, perhaps an application form, like you should not be struggling to sell those people, or at least complaining about the level of qualification people go through.
Yeah, it is. Like the fitness industry is such a good industry to be in terms 100%. Of marketing and selling. It's a very easy industry to market and to sell to. Like fitness isn't going to go away. Like the wellness industry as a whole is only getting bigger year on year. Yeah. It's one of the only industries that is recession proof. Like through those times of, I believe it was the 2008 crash, like fitness was one of the only ones that continued to grow within that time. Yeah, so let's flip the script and just focus on gym owners and making sales for gym owners. So as I mentioned earlier, you coach our gym owners every single week. We do in-person events where they'll come down to the office and we speak with them and we train them for a whole day. Someone who doesn't have much experience in sales, what are some common things that you see that are just getting in their way?
What's really getting in their way? It's not always about what they're saying on the phone, which you and I both know is really important.
Yeah.
Like you can mess up a hot lead, right, if you say the wrong things. But most of them, it's just, they're just not doing it, I think is like the big thing. I speak to someone and they're like, oh, I don't want to come across as salesy. Or the worst one is like, oh, I just want them, like, they should just buy from me. I shouldn't have to sell to them.
Yeah.
And things like that. And yeah, I think you can teach anyone sales, but teaching someone the ability to want to do it over and over and over again, I think that's where like the money is in fitness.
Yeah. So what you're kind of getting at is belief,
yes,
right? Like the belief systems instilled into every single one of us, whether it's me, you, or whoever it is listening right now. And, every action we take is based on a thought we have, and every thought that we have is based on a belief we have. So if you want to change your outcomes, you have to change your belief systems. And this is massive inside of selling, because when most people think about being taught how to sell or learning how to sell, they think, what are the words I need to say? What words do I say when someone says I need to think about it? It's like, here's the words. That's very surface level when it comes to sales. I would say you've got, what to say and how to say it. But then beneath that, you've got the understanding of why you're saying that. Yes. Then down below, the understanding of why they are saying that in terms of the person to you. And then bottom there, I would say your cadence, in terms of the cadence of how you are, having sales activities. And then right at the bottom is where you have your belief systems. But if your belief systems are wrong, well, it's my belief anyway, that everything else is going to be much, much harder.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so what would you say like are some of the belief systems that people have in place before they get coached by you, before they're your best student?
Yeah. A few really common ones. Like one is, like I mentioned, if they were, this is like so damaging. If they were interested, they would have just bought from me. But it's like, if you look at any major company you follow, even Apple are selling phones and they've got a much bigger brand than the gym down the road. But even they are having to consistently sell, right? So it's not as easy as someone's just not going to see your ad and just buy from you. So like that's one belief. Yeah, the other belief is selling sleazy is like one I hear so often. I don't want to be a used car salesman is like often referred to. So that's another belief. And another really damaging one is I don't have time to do sales. I hear that so much. Yeah. Like, oh, I have admin to do, or I've got to do this. I don't have time for sales. And just a lack of, not necessarily belief, but an understanding that sales is the most pivotal role in your business. And the reason you're stuck is because you haven't mastered it.
Yeah.
And the belief around it.
And so there's a lot of people that can very easily sell, the referrals, the walk-ins, the people that have like been on their radar for a while. But in my opinion, like you're not actually selling them. You're just not messing up the inevitable sale. But the problem is that if you want to grow your business to a significant level, the way you market is going to potentially have to change, because you can't just rely on referrals and word of mouth to build the business you want. Those people are easy. But then when you have to upgrade your marketing and the people that are coming in have a lower level of awareness, you have to learn to sell properly.
Yeah.
Because you're not, I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think the way I look at it is, because I've sold FMA as well to, like, you know, so people know that I don't just coach the clients, but I sell FMA as well. I speak to so many gym owners that I think, yeah, marketing is a problem. You need to fix that. You don't have any lead flow. But it doesn't matter what tap we build out into your business, you are going to mess up because you cannot sell. You haven't learned that.
Yeah.
So obviously now we teach people, right? But I could generate you 100 really highly qualified leads that are ready to go, and you still wouldn't pick up the phone and call them anyway.
Yeah.
So what's the point of building this system out if you don't have the mindset or the belief to want to call them anyway?
I would also say that 8 out of 10 people that come to FMA don't think they need help with sales.
Yeah.
They do not believe they need help with sales. It's not something that we really talk about before they come in. We mention it, but it's not the reason that they say, I just need more leads. And if you are a business owner and you think you do not need consistent development when it comes to sales, like, you need your head screwed on, because every single business owner, no matter what level, is consistently developing their sales skill set, because the better you are at sales, ultimately, like, the better your business is going to be and the more revenue you're going to generate. Yeah.
Well, it's like, to get to the Premier League in football, you've got to practice, right, every day and get to an elite level. But then they don't get there and stop and just think, you know what, I'm now a Premier League player. Let me just show up to the game. So, like, even we practice sales every day, right? I'm not saying we're at the top of the mountain, but I believe we're in the topper echelon of people in sales, and we're role playing, we're practicing, we're reviewing calls, because we know, and I've been there, you take your eye off the ball for a week and you're in a rut before you know it, and you're questioning life as you know it, and you're depressed, and it's like, I'm not making any sales. But 3 months ago, I was closing deals left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So
we see that a lot as well, is that someone, you know, maybe they go through our sales training, they have a really good month or really good a second month or whatever, but 3 or 4 months later, they're like, I don't get what's going on. Like, I'm not making any sales. Like, it's not me. I'm not the problem. But then you've probably seen this, right? You'll review their process and what is it that tends to have happened?
I think they just get complacent, which I understand, because I've been there. Like, you try and cut corners, right? Or you try and, if my calls take me this long, I'm going to try and get them done in this long and close it in world record time. So I think they build this process out, it works, and then they think they become better than the process.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it was the script and the process and the frameworks that are working, and they think, I'm really good at sales, so I'm just going to go on the call and wing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm really good now, I'm closing deals. And then they come away from the process that got them to that thought process in the first place. And then it all goes tits up, but then they don't have the ability. And again, I've been there. You don't have the inner strength to say, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe I've stepped away from the process. Instead, you say things like, the leads are bad, people don't buy it this time of year, people aren't picking up the phone. You've got like because I could take 100 business owners in the fitness industry struggling with this, and they've all got the same couple of excuses, and there must be some correlation to that. Like, you are all saying the same excuse, and you've all come off the process. Like, it's funny. But then the ones who come to sales coaching, consistently go through the training, they never have that problem, which is funny.
Yeah, and again, everyone's guilty of it, like including myself. So, you know, when I used to, whether it be selling fitness, memberships, or whether it be selling FMA, and I'll just use FMA as an example because it's the most recent one, you'd be, you know, selling a really, really high conversion rate. You felt unstoppable. And then because of that, as you said, you start cutting corners, you start missing bits out. And then a couple of months later, or a few months later, without realizing it, your sales process is very different to the one that it once was. And something that I've noticed is that, for instance, like, when people speak with us, typically speaking, it takes around an hour, maybe a little bit less. But then sometimes some calls were finishing on 35 minutes. And it's like, when you actually look at that logically, it's like, wow, that's a lot of time that's been missed out of this process. What elements have I missed?
Yeah.
And when you look at the time there, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And to put that back to the gym owner, it's like, they do really well at sales. They spend a lot of time info gathering. They really listen. They take that information, they bring it into the pitch. They take their time, they address all the concerns, and they close. And then months down the line, they will miss out half of the questions in the info gathering stage. They cut corners, and they're like, why is this not working? Why am I not making any sales? And then, as you said, they then start looking at everything else going on apart from them. They
Yeah.
remove any individual responsibility. And again, I get that. It's hard to do. It's really hard to criticize yourself and go, well, it can't be me. I was sick a month ago. I was so good 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a sales king. It's definitely not me. It's everything else. The leads are bad. This sucks. They suck. Like, it's the wrong people. And then actually, it comes to reviewing your own process and you see the gaps and you go,
Yeah.
it's me.
Yeah.
I am the problem.
Yeah. But I think you have to be like that in sales, to be that consistent. You have to be insane, right? I think, like, is it the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. I know they say expecting different results, but to do hundreds of calls, even for a gym owner, and follow the same process every single time without deviating from my info gathering and the pitch every single time, it does get boring.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. I hear that a lot. It gets really boring. And I think even Ronaldo misses penalties, right? Like to be that consistent is very hard. But that's why you have to, one, consistently show up to training, to coaching, to find someone to help you. But two, the other side of this that I think is really important is you're in the fitness industry because you want to help someone change their life, right? Like, back when I was in recruitment, it sounds bad, I didn't really care. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care about you as the person that wants the job, and I don't really care about the company. Give me the money. That's the only reason I'm here. Whereas when you're selling fitness, I do believe you have a duty inside to be the best every single time on the sales call. Because if you mess up and that person doesn't get their life changed, I feel like that's quite a guilty conscience. For me anyway, like, you have stopped someone from changing their life. And there's not many other industries where you can say, I'm going to see you in 2 years' time and you might be in a really bad place because I cut info gathering.
Yeah.
And that's quite a weird place to be in.
This goes back to what I said at the start, where the fitness industry is one of the best to market and sell in, because the outcome of that person buying is potentially that person's life changing.
There's no value on that.
You can't say that with insurance. Like, you can't say that with so many industries that are so boring to sell. You can't actually, like, really confidently say this is going to change your life. But if you're a gym owner right now, you know of people whose lives have changed because of the service you have. So every time you're speaking to someone, potentially that is literally someone's life that you can change. And so if they do give you an objection, but you know they're a good fit, again, I think it's selfish not to have the skill set in place to be able to sell them. Something I want to circle back to that you said, though, is that, like, you know, people find sales calls boring. People find it monotonous. I think it's fair to address the elephant in the room, because it is boring.
Yeah.
It is monotonous. Yes. It's not fun. It's not easy. But if it was fun and it was easy, everyone would be doing it,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between people that have extraordinary businesses and people that have average businesses. And it's because there's people that have average behaviors and those that have extraordinary behaviors. Yeah. So if you want to build something significant, does that reflect your behavior right now? Are you actually putting in the work every single day to reach out to these leads and call them? Or are you doing what most people are doing on a daily basis? Is your mindset at the place where most people are? Because most people think sales is sleazy. Most people think sales is boring. Most people don't want to be a salesperson. But then there's those that have really successful businesses that think differently. So if you want to be successful, you need to start thinking like those that are successful and change your mindset there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think sales is its own beast, right? And I think if you took, let's say you took the top performing salespeople from the fitness, like, you know, a gym owner that closes really well, and you put them in like this, like a high ticket closer pool or a pool of like really good salespeople from other industries, I don't think they'd match that level instantly. Like, I think if you took the best gym owner in the UK at selling and put them in recruitment, I think they'd struggle, because it's selling fitness is it is easier, but like most gym owners I see, this goes back to another problem I was going to mention, is it's like, I'll fit sales in when I can. You know, maybe I'll do an hour a day. And I speak to some gym owners and I'm like, how many dials have you done? You know, they say 10, I hit my record. And I'm like, what? You mean 10 conversations? No, 10 dials. And I think 10 dials is your record in a day.
Yeah.
Like, you would get swallowed up.
Yeah.
You haven't committed yourself to the lifestyle of sales, which is it's not a 9 to 5, it's a grind. It's training 3, 4, 5 times a week, sleeping well, not drinking, not having an argument with your missus because you know you've got a busy day of calls the next day. And if you do, someone's objecting you and you're thinking about your missus and you're going to kick off at them, right? You have to commit every single element of your life to say, I'm going to close this person. It's not just the 15, 20 minutes what you say on the call. it's the hours you're spending around that really craft whether you make that sale or not.
Yeah.
There's that famous saying, right? A sale is won or lost before you even get on the phone.
100%.
And I think that rings true. It doesn't matter. If you've got a bad sales script, but you're just a master in your head, like, I think you would get on better than someone who's got the best script, but they're a loser with other elements of their life.
Yeah, 100%. And you really hit the nail on the head there where, it's like business owners that are, I'll do sales when I can. I'll focus on marketing when I can. But the reality is, like, and you might be thinking, like, I didn't get into this industry to become a salesperson. I didn't become a gym owner because I want to be on the phone. But look, when you go from being a coach to being a gym owner, you become a business owner. Yeah. And as a business owner, you have responsibilities and you have to wear many hats. And yes, it is hard. And yes, it does take a long time, but that's business owner life.
Yeah, 100%.
And, making sales is the heart of any business. Without making sales, your business dies. Yeah. It is the most important thing in terms of getting people through and service. And that, of course, it's also the most important thing, as well as sales, is the product, right? Yeah. You've got to have a good service that people come into. 100%. And I want to also just kind of caveat that with everything we're saying is on the presumption that you have a good service and you have a good product. Yeah. Because if your service sucks right now and you're like, I need to, you probably shouldn't be selling it. But you also do need to sell it, right? Because you probably need to refine that product, and to refine it, people need to come through it. But maybe you shouldn't be selling like crazy. But it really depends on your specific situation. But when we're speaking about this, it's with the assumption that you have a really great service. There's a high-end, front-end conversion rate. You've got good retention rates. And now we're speaking about sales in terms of how you should be thinking about it. So I think it's important to kind of go from that mark there. But yeah, again, like if you didn't get into the industry to be sales, like to do sales, I think you need a bit of a reality check, because it's a non-negotiable for having a successful business. Yeah. is having successful sales 100%. Inside that business.
Yeah, but sales is, like, we also often talk about sales from like the front end perspective, like, right? But let's say you've got a client that's been with you for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and now they're at a phase where they're starting to, do I want to continue training? Do I want to drop off? Am I going to start missing some sessions? The only way you can get that person back into consistent training is to sell them again on the thought process of why I should continue training. Yeah. So selling isn't just, I'm going to collect money in the bank for a business owner. It's every single day. Every time one of your members turns up to a session, you are selling them on 60 minutes, right? That's why they're there. They've been sold that session is going to be great. Yeah. When you throw a social for your members, you have to sell them on the idea of, why should I spend 2 hours of my life outside of the gym, which I already go to attend this social. So you need to learn sales, one, to make money on the front end, but if you can understand the human psychology element of it, you'll increase your retention, because members that start, we have it right with some gym owners, that are on the fence or whatever it may be, and it's like they have to be resold the dream of where they're going, and most of the time they do. They do get resold, and it's the same with your members as well.
Well, I think that's really interesting. It's like, what is the definition of a sale? And it's basically someone buying in to you that you have a solution for their future. Yeah, that's what they're buying into, and of course that comes into when someone first comes to the gym. But later on down the line, like, you have to resell that person in consistently, right? It's like, can that person see their future with us and how it's going to get better? That's essentially what a sale is, if you was like break it down, right? It's a transaction in value. It's understanding their problems, where they want to go, and being able to accommodate it to their needs. Yeah. And if they can't see that, they're never going to buy. Yeah. And that's probably why people that is why people lose members, right? Because they lose sight of the future with who they are currently with.
Yeah, they haven't been sold on the next destination. Yeah. That's what a lot of people are guilty of, is we make the front end sale and then we stop selling to those people. Yeah. And we just focus everything on the front end, which is dangerous. And I think that goes back to that point of you saying, gym owners not wanting to sell or finding it frustrating. I didn't get into this industry to sell. Like, I hate that point of view, because it's like, I've had a baby, I don't want to change nappies, so I just won't do it. And it's like, one, you've got to put your big boy pants on a little bit. Like, even if you weren't doing this, you have to sell. You're always selling something, even if you're a PT doing sessions or like, no matter what you do in your life, like, learning sales is really important.
But also, if you only sell to the people that run towards you and actively want that help,
It's not even really selling, is it?
Yeah, but also you're limiting the impact you can have for those
Yeah.
people around you. And I think what would be really good is for you to dive into the psychology of why someone may opt in, whether it's for a website, whether it's for an ad, and maybe they have a conversation but don't buy.
Yeah.
Like, why don't they buy? Like, I'd love you to talk about, you know, the consumer's belief systems to really give whoever's listening an understanding as why they don't buy. Because once you understand that, then it almost adds more context to why you should have these sales skills in your locker.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you've asked this. So, you know, we were saying fitness is the easiest thing to sell. I also think it's the hardest thing to sell. It's like a really weird thing with the fitness industry. But when someone comes on a call to buy FMA, they're there as a logical buyer, I think, of a solution that they're aware of the problem. I think most people opt into health and fitness unaware, like, of the solution. Especially with small group or large group personal training. Susan, who's 55, isn't walking around saying, I need 1 to 4 training. She's thinking, I just need to go to the gym. I just need to lose weight. No one's aware, unless you're in that ecosystem already, of what that solution is.
And just to add context, like what Luke is saying is that no one's thinking, I need this type of training many times a week as a solution to get my problem. They are thinking, I feel like this, and I want to feel like and I don't like it, and I want to make a change, and I want to feel like this.
Yeah. The other part of this that I don't think anyone gives any thought to is I didn't wake up one day and go, oh my God, I'm overweight. I went to bed skinny and I've woken up overweight. Like, I need to go get my life in order. I have looked at myself and perhaps not been as happy as I wanted to be for 3 or 4 or 5 years. So the thought that when I see your ad or I opt into your gym is the first time the solution, you know, I've wanted to find a solution is naive. They thought about it every day. Every day they wake up and look in the mirror. I don't like myself. You should do something about it. But the voice in my head that says don't is very powerful. So every day I'm objecting myself. Why don't you join the gym? Oh, it's too expensive. You can't make it. You know, you're so busy with work. You got the kids. I'm not even having a sales conversation. I'm just objecting my health every day. That's why I'm in the position I'm in, and that's why I've remained in this position. If you went up to someone who's overweight and said, hey, do you want to stay like that? No one is going to say, yeah, I'm sweet. They're going to say, yeah, but I don't have the time. So even out of a sales scenario, if you think about the process of how much time have you put into practicing objection handling, think about how much time your prospects put into saying objections. And I can guarantee if they've put more time into objecting their health and fitness over you practicing objections, they'll win. They'll close you every single time. So there's that saying, you either close them on a reason why they should, or they'll close you on a reason why they shouldn't. So if your prospect has got 4 years of saying, I'm too busy, they get on a sales call with you and say, I'm too busy. And you go, oh, yeah, probably. Or you don't handle that objection. It's game over.
Yeah.
They're experts at putting off their health and fitness.
Because they've been doing it
because
for
they've
years.
been trained. They're training their mind to put it off. So you have to be an authority. I think you have to be the person that draws the line in the sand and says enough is enough. Not just following a script is great, but if you don't have the authority and the presence, you know, and the passion and care to say to that person, you are making bad choices with your health and fitness, this needs to stop. Whether you're busy or not, this needs to stop. Like, and if you can't do that, or you don't have the heart to do that, you are not going to sell fitness too well. Like, you will struggle. That's why I think it's really hard.
Yeah, and going back to what I said earlier about the belief systems, right? So this, you know, imaginary prospect has had years of believing a certain thing about themselves and years of a narrative being told to themselves. So for that person to have a compounding belief that has taken years and years and years, sometimes that's going to be hard to break by just
100%.
having a regular conversation. So you need to be equipped with those tools.
Yeah.
So I've heard so many stories as well of people that inquire to a gym and they sell in a consultation format, and the person like drives up to the gym or walks to the gym and they don't walk in, they do like a lap, or they don't show up, or they're petrified to walk into that gym. But those people that actually went through those doors are now some of those the best customers from clients I know. And the question is, like, why are they petrified to walk into that gym? It's those beliefs that we just talk about, like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm the biggest, the sweatiest, the slowest? What if I don't fit in? All these fears are making people petrified to walk into your gym. And just to kind of, again, go like give some more context and stats, like there's 14% of the population in the UK that have a gym membership. Lots of people, and I don't know the specific stats here, lots of people that have a gym membership don't go to the gym. So you've got a really small portion of the population in the UK that aren't sophisticated when it comes to the gym or when it comes to fitness. It's quite frankly a little bit ignorant, because the majority of people that need your help and can be your best customers aren't athletes. But from a sales perspective, like the mindset of so many is like, oh, I only want to speak to people that are like this, or if they do have an objection, I don't want to be salesy because of X, Y, and Z. But you really have to understand the psychology of the commercial market in your area, and the majority of them don't know much about fitness,
or nothing at all.
And
I think that goes back to that point. Like, what I was going to add to what we were just saying is talking about the gym owner that just sells referrals or the walk-ins, and it's like the quickest sale, right? I think you're being massively selfish, but two, I think you're serving the portion of the market that need the least help. Because if I've got the ability to walk in the first place or actively get referred to you, that means I'm not in that bad of a state. Like I'm happy, right? I can walk in on my own accord, or I can get referred and come and pay straight away. I can join. Like, those are the people that need the least help. The people that need the most help are the ones that won't opt in, or they will, and they'll take ages to get in contact with because they're scared to pick up the phone to talk about their health and fitness because they've just been battered by their own beliefs for years. They're the people that need the most help. So if you got into the fitness industry to help people, why are you serving the people that need the least help and not becoming great to serve the people that need the most help, which that they do require more dials. They are harder to sell. You will get objections, but if you get objections, that means you're selling to the right person in fitness, I think, because you're selling to the person, unless they outright say, I cannot afford it, I'm on the breadline, I cannot afford this is not for me. Every other objection, I think, is closable in fitness. I think you're dealing with someone with a broken mindset and beliefs. But that's the person that needs your help. And they're the ones you get the biggest success stories with. You know, I took this person from, it's not even about their health and fitness. They hated themselves. They wouldn't walk into a gym. Like they didn't think they had the time, and now they're training 4 times a week. Are they going to run marathons? No. But I've actually changed, it doesn't matter about health and fitness, I've changed their mindset. But that person isn't going to pick up the phone on the first attempt. That person isn't going to go, yeah, take 200 quid.
Hey, we'll get back to the episode in just 1 minute, but I just wanted to offer you the opportunity to get our free sales objection booklet and wall chart. There is nothing more frustrating than being told by a prospective client that they need more time, they need to talk to their partner, or they can't afford it. If you want to convert more of your prospects into clients, help more people, and earn more money, then this resource is for you. If you head over to fmasales.co, you can grab your free resource there.
Yeah, and there might be a very small amount of exceptions of businesses, maybe they listen to this, that have gyms that are just for those athletic people, but it's going to be in the minority. And if you're sitting around waiting for those types of people in your local area to come towards you, I do believe you're going to be waiting for a very, very long time, because again, you just have to look at the stats and the data. Most people aren't conditioned and sophisticated in fitness. It is an emerging market and people are becoming more sophisticated, but the vast majority of people sitting in your local area right now that want to make a change don't have the level of sophistication that you have the expectation of them to have before they come into contact with you. And you really need to understand that. You really need to dumb down your process to these people and speak to them. It's a little bit like us talking about sales now. I said, like, hey, at the top you have the things to say. If you get an objection, you have the scripts. Then you have and then you have the understanding of why you say it. Then you have this. Then you have the belief system. This is where you need to get to with the people that you speak to. You need to understand their belief system to be able to help them make a change. And that's what coaching is, by the way. If you're a coach-led business, like, prescribing the workout is one thing, but getting them to do it is another thing. And that's where, like, the art of coaching is. It's like when I was speaking to Craig Massey from the PFCA, like the art of coaching is getting them to understand and do the thing rather than actually the prescription. But most people, when it comes to their sales process, they're too much on that surface level.
Yeah. And I don't really, like, if I'm that person we're talking about, if I was that interested in the thing, I'd be doing the thing, right? But but you know, I'm not, because I'm not interested. Like, if you took someone who'd never trained before and said, you're going to learn how to do a clean and snatch, I generally don't think, one, they wouldn't know what you're talking about, and I generally don't think they care. And I think a lot of people who are even in gyms for years don't care. I just want to turn up, feel good, and go home. Like, that's what we're selling with fitness, right? Is we're selling a feeling. That's why I'm showing up. It's, for most people, perhaps for us, it's a bit different, but I don't care about PRs or or what. I want to like myself. I want to feel good. I want to break these beliefs and change who I am. And if you can get me to consistently do that, like that's what selling is, I think. And that's why I said you have to keep reselling these people.
Yeah, and think about, like, let's look at Madison's next door, right? Probably one of the kind of most successful small group personal training gyms in the country. And if you look at the core demographic in there that are paying, £400 a month for semi-private personal training or even more, it's not full of athletes in there, and it's not full of sophisticated people. It's full of people that aren't haven't had much experience with the gym, but they are a professional, they're a dad, and they just want to tick the boxes of, maybe shifting a little bit of weight, but also having that more energy. Like, there's a deeper reason why they go to the gym other than I need to go to the gym. And it's nothing around the actual training. It's much deeper than that.
100%. But also referencing Madison's, everyone there who is involved with sales has been to FMA to learn sales from us. So that's why I believe amongst the world-class training that they do offer, which we've both been through, they have a world-class selling system so that they know if they get X amount of leads every single month, it doesn't matter what they cost or how many we get really, we know we're going to close a huge portion of these leads. One, because we are the best and we believe we're the best, which is huge in selling, but their info gathering is tight. Their pitching is great. They expect objections and how to overcome them. That's why they're the best.
Yeah, they expect them.
Yes.
Exactly. And obviously it's better to not have them, but
I'd love to not have objections.
Yeah, of course, but you've got to be prepared for them. And we'll go into that in just a moment. But just going back to Madison, so some people might be thinking, like, what's a good conversion rate of leads to sale? Whether it is through my website or I'm running ads, what's a good conversion rate? And we typically say 20 to 40% of your leads should buy within that period of them initially opting in. And I was speaking to Tyler yesterday, actually. They convert the whole year, 35% of their leads have become a paying customer, and then they convert 70% of them onto a back-end membership. So those guys are doing a very, very good job. But that conversion rate is on the higher end of that spectrum, and they're doing a very, very good job. But and by the way, these are people that have a high conversion rate of their front-end trial. So they sell a front-end trial and they put them into a recurring membership afterwards. It starts from £320 a month and it goes upwards of there. So 3 times a week, I think, is 320, and then more is going to obviously go higher from there. It's a premium service. So they use our sales strategies and they're able to have a high conversion rate of the front-end to back-end, and they have a very, very high LTV, lifetime value. And the reason I wanted to say that is because a lot of people have another belief system held in them that is like, if I use these sales tactics, I'll bring in the wrong people that don't stay for a very long time. Have you heard that before?
Also often,
If I use these sales tactics, they're not going to stay for a long period of time. Yeah, I literally have a case study of a gym next door that makes probably more than most gyms or people listening to this podcast right now, and they use this sales process, they convert at a high level and they retain at a very high level as well. So let's just kind of dissect that belief system there.
I think that's an easy belief to dissect. I think that person doesn't know sales, and instead of letting go of their ego and saying, I don't know sales, they come up with excuses like that. The same reason why if I spoke to someone who hasn't trained for 5 years and I ask, why can't you lose weight? And they say, my metabolism is super slow. It's a slow working metabolism.
Yeah.
Anyone in the fitness industry, I'm big boned. Yeah. Everyone in the fitness industry knows you're chatting nonsense. That's not true. Well, it's the same for those gym owners that, if I sell them like that, I won't get good members. How do you know? Because you can't sell like that. You've never done it before.
Yeah.
So how do you even know that selling like that brings in short-term members? Because you can't even sell like that. Yeah, even despite having all of this proof around me from FMA members who are consistently closing people, from gyms like Madison's, you're still going to come to that belief. I really believe it's because you don't want to say, I need to learn sales. Yeah, like I'm rubbish.
Or even if they do come through the door and you're like, they don't stay as long. It's like, is the product as tight as it should be? Because again, I've just laid out a case study of a very successful gym selling in a certain way that has very good results after that process, and their prices are most likely higher than the person thinking that right now.
Most people don't remember their sales experience anyway. Like when you walk into a gym like Madison's, or if you truly believe your gym is that good, I'm not going to be there doing my first session saying, there's the guy that asked me 5 questions and info gathering that were quite personal. I'm going to be thinking, this place is amazing. Like I'm so glad I joined. I'm not going to be remembering my sales experience. I'm just going to be thankful I did it.
Yeah.
So again, like I honestly just think it's a way of saying I can't sell, which is what I hear from that. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Let's speak about call cadence.
Yeah.
So a lead comes in, and how many times should I call that lead? What should the process look like? And again, this is another belief, like, oh, I don't want to seem like I'm being pesty and calling the leads. Like, I don't want to, or they go, oh, I drop them a text first just to warn them it's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I hear that a lot as well.
Yeah. Well, I've got a few things to say on that. And on that point of, I don't want to seem like I'm pestering someone. Like if one of my best mates had a health issue and they weren't going to the doctor to get it solved because they were all macho, I'd be telling them every day, you need to go get that checked, mate. You need to go check that, get that checked. If you didn't, you were not a very good friend. So if you've got leads that have opted in, that are in that portion of people that don't want to take action because they've got that belief, and you don't want to pester them, what are you doing? That you've got someone there that you could literally could change their life or stop them from dying early.
Yeah.
And you're more bothered about pestering them.
Yeah.
Than actually, I'm going to try and call you 5 times today.
Yeah.
Because I've read your application form and you really need help.
Yeah.
And I want you to know if you work with me, I'll have that same ethos. If you are going to try and miss a session with me, I'm going to pester you. So when you come through the door, you know the level of work I'm going to put into everyone that I work with. This isn't a Mickey Mouse operation. We'll pester you at the start. We'll pester you as a client and you will get good results. Like if you had to pick 2 coaches to work with, would you want the one that didn't pester you or the one that pestered you to the result? Well, I'm going to pick that one. Yeah. So that follows through with sales.
But it's even like I just don't think it's pestering.
So it's not.
Yeah. That's it. Like if someone opts in and you call that person a couple times a day, every day for a week or 2, like that's not that's not pestering. That's being efficient. You know what really annoys me is that like when I opt in for like a service and it's a small business and it's not in the fitness industry, I never hear back.
It's frustrating because
I send an email, I send an inquiry, and I don't hear. It's like, what's going on? I want some help. Yeah. Like it's frustrating.
Well, the early bird gets the worm, right?
Yeah. And then if I get someone that reaches out to me 7 days later, is that professional or unprofessional?
Well, it's unprofessional.
Yeah. If I get someone that drops me a text 5 days later, like, hey, are you interested? It's like, no, like be a professional and follow up efficiently. Yeah. That is a professional level of service. Yeah. And then so a lead comes in, and I think it's also important to mention, and so many people say this, but it's just so important. Like speed to lead is important.
100%.
It's important to reach out to your inquiries quickly when they come in. And can we just dive into like why that is important?
Well, for 2 reasons. I think if they've inquired with you, if they've inquired with someone else. Like to think you don't have any competition in your local area, I think is ignorant. You do. You've also got competition online with hundreds and thousands of coaches. So let's say I've come from a Facebook ad, right? This is what I say to FMA clients. If I've come from a Facebook ad and I opt in for you, why has the algorithm showed me you? Maybe it's because I'm searching for health and fitness products. That's typically the way the algorithm works, right? Hey, Luke's interested in health and fitness. Let's spam him with health and fitness ads. So if I've seen your ad and I've opted in, be damn sure I've opted in somewhere else. If you call me first, and you might be the one that gets my business, just purely on the fact you got there first. The early bird gets the worm. If your competition gets to them and your competition isn't as good as you, but they sell them, you've done that. You've stopped that person changing their life purely because you couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone 5 minutes after the lead came in. But also your competition isn't doing that. Your competition's waiting 48 hours or they can't be bothered. So if you don't get better at sales, you just call your leads quicker within 5 minutes, you will outsell everyone in your local area.
100%.
For sure.
And, when someone opts in, whether it's through your website, whether it's through an ad or whatever it is, like that's where their peak of interest is. And the more the time goes on,
they're also on the device. Typically, you're trying to contact them on. So one thing I hear often is people don't pick up the phone. And I always ask, well, how quick do you call them 24 hours later?
Yeah.
Well, when do you think they're most likely on their phone for you to reach them?
Yeah.
Oh, when they opted in.
It's such a good point. Like people don't pick up the phone anymore. Like in this day and age, there was a time where telesales were a thing. People didn't have phones in their pockets back then. It was all landlines.
Yeah. People do pick up the phone now.
Yeah. So many people pick up the phone now. Like that's another common myth. Like literally everyone walks around with their phone. Yeah. Like literally we live in a society where people get anxious without their phone. Everyone's got their phone on them, but you just need to be consistent and actually show up. And so again, like a lead comes in, number one.
Yes, the cadence.
Yeah. You should call that lead as quickly as you can because you're going to have a bit higher chance of selling that person in. Yeah. And then once they come into your process, you can service them to a high level and they can be a happy to pay customer. Number 2, is if they don't pick up, you should call them again. Like you should double dial every single lead that you get. And again, some people go, I don't want to double dial. I don't want to be like a pesky person. Literally earlier today, I was having a conversation with a new up-level client, and they have got a coach that is going to be helping them with sales. And she was speaking to me, and she was like, yeah, I always call the lead twice. I was like, oh, cool. Like, have you got experience? She was like, I used to work for British Gas. And that's what they did there. So again, like if you're sitting there going like, oh, I don't want to double dial. It's a sleazy way of selling. Like there's legitimate, like large corporations that are implementing these sales strategies, and you are hidden in these beliefs going, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to seem like that. Like this is how, legitimate businesses operate. And if you, again, you want a bigger business, operate like a legitimate business.
100%.
And this is a very legitimate tactic that large businesses do.
Yeah.
Double dial your leads. And then even if you call them the next day, do it again. Like there's no harm in doing that.
Yeah.
Really, like you should only stop if they tell you to stop
100%.
contact.
I was about to say, I think the recommendations in the fitness industry of how many times you should call a lead is dumbed down. But I think to even put an arbitrary number on how many times you should call a lead before you say maybe you should be in long-term pipeline or whatever, why would you do that? Because what if the next call you were going to make is one where they bought?
Yeah.
But because your system said 8, you've stopped.
Yeah.
What happens if it was... I remember back in recruitment, and this is a different industry and a different time because I was cold calling, I'd call a business 100 times. And I'd call a business and the gatekeeper, is probably a bad term, but that's what we call them, would say, you stop effing calling this company. We don't want to hear from you anymore. I'd call the next day with a different name.
So just we're not recommending.
I'm not saying do that.
Yeah,
but
we're not saying that
because that is
what you should do.
No.
Like if they do say stop, then do stop.
Yeah.
But
The point I'm trying to make is
there's a point here.
Yeah. That's just what's required. That's what was required then. So I did it.
Yeah.
You don't know. I don't know how many dials is required now to get, on average, a hold of every fitness lead. I don't.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 30? But no one's doing it, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's got like an arbitrary number. I tried this lead 5 times, so I just put them in my 2 times a week email sequence.
Yeah.
You're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
I think that's why people need too many leads, because they get through them too quick. Right, I'm going to get 50 leads, call them all 4 times. Right, I need a new batch of 50. But I speak to FMA clients, some of them that really coach with me closely, and they're closing deals from leads 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago. And they're running ads less, but they are just consistently working their pipeline. But most people say, oh, I don't want to do that. That's because it is cold at that point. They're not good leads anymore. Well, if you look at their buying process of health and fitness, they've never bought it before. So theoretically, if a lead came in 12 months ago and you call them today, probably need more help now. They probably the situation's worse. So surely from a sales perspective, they're an even better lead. Plus they should have been receiving more marketing for you. So yeah, in terms of a cadence, how, again, we may say call a lead twice and then once a day and then once a day. Who made that up? If you can dedicate more time every day to calling more leads, you will make more sales. That's the simplest equation I can give you. So if you can call a lead 4 times in one day, do it.
That's such a good point. Like, people give a structure and cadence, but who actually knows what the specific structure is?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's it. It's just really call the person as much as you can throughout that period of time. And if they say I'm not interested, fine, move on to the next person. But really you don't know what is going on the other side of the phone. Like someone, I have people that call me and I'm on a Zoom call. I'm not going to answer the phone, or I'm having a conversation. I'm not going to answer the phone, or I'm on a train. I'm not going to answer the phone. But there's so many times. But what happens is you call them once or twice and you go, they're not interested.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on there. And something else you said, which I thought was really interesting, a huge mistake people make is they spend and invest a lot of resources in creating a big database full of new leads, but they invest very little in figuring out how to make money from that database. They just continue to add to the database more and more, and they leave all of these leads here to dust, and they're not focusing on those people. They're just going, I need more. A lot of people actually don't, but your business always needs new inquiries to come in, but you should also be utilizing the leads that you are getting 100%. And we help our clients do this a lot, because we say, look, you've got leads here. How do we speak to these people and get them to signal that they are interested so they can sign up as well? And what that will result in is even more sales. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. I was at an event and I was speaking to a gymowner that's not an FMA client. And they the marketing was okay, to be fair, not at our level for sure, but I asked, how big is your database? This came up in conversation a bit later on, and they said, I think it was about 5,000 people. And that's quite big for the fitness industry, for a local business anyway, in a city, obviously. And I asked, what's your average cost per lead? And they said, I think it was like £13 or £15 or something like that. And I just said, get your phone out and times the people in your database by your average cost per lead. And then they saw the number. I can't do maths, but it was a lot with, tens of thousands. And I was like, that you may as well just give me that money. Like, can I just have that from you? Because you've invested that into something you're not even, it's the worst return on your investment you've ever had.
Yeah.
Yes, you may have made some front end sales along the way. Maybe, okay, let's take 300-400 people out of your database and say you close them. We've now got 4,500 people left or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are the worst investment. You may as well have put that money into a bottle of wine, which has got something else in it, like water. Because you're just not utilizing it. When was the last time you emailed the list? Oh, we send them a newsletter once a month. Do you really think that's going to cut it?
Yeah.
When was the last time you called people that opted in over 2 years ago? Oh, we'd never do that. Here's your problem.
Yeah. Or even just leads that opted in last month.
I'm exaggerating.
Yeah. 2 years ago. Again, is another extreme example. But like, what about the leads last month? Let's say an example. Like, it's January, and you had some opt-ins in December, but they didn't want to start until January.
Call them up.
Do you think it's a good idea to say, hey, we had a conversation, but you didn't want to get started because obviously of Christmas, but now we're into 2025. How's everything go? Like, do you think that's a good idea? There might even be people in November that held off because they didn't want to start until like December. Do you think it's a good idea to call those leads in January because now you've got a lot of opportunity, like the logistical objection is out of the way? Do you think that's a good idea? It is a good idea.
Yeah.
You could, like, everyone listens to this. If you've got a significant database, you could probably make a good number of sales just from calling older leads inside of that January, February period that opted in before the new year.
Yeah. Well, I was actually speaking to a friend that works in a different industry, so I don't know how relatable it is, but the business he works for, they aim to convert 10% of their list into paying clients. So for most business owners, they'd be full. If you converted 5% of your list, if you got that 5,000 people on it and you run a small group personal training business, you would be full. So for most people, you've got the capabilities to run some like efficient marketing strategies throughout the year with a few other bits around that, plus work your list, and you will be full.
Yeah, that's such an interesting way to look at it, because like there's a lot of people here that probably have, it might be 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, or even more contacts on their database. Like,
and you want 50 clients.
Yeah. You think about how many members you have. Like, you've got thousands of email addresses and phone numbers in your database of people in your local area. Like, there's so much opportunity to tap into that database that people aren't utilizing. So like, a lot of it, like every business does need new inquiries for sure. But you could be definitely optimizing how many and increasing how many sales you're making a month by adopting a mindset of not just focusing on those new leads, and also having an emphasis on older inquiries that have opted in as well. And it does work. Like the data is there. And if it wasn't there, we wouldn't be on a podcast saying that this does work.
Exactly. The big problem here is the cadence.
Yeah.
Because if you can't get a good enough cadence for new leads coming through the door, you're not going to be able to work your list.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the mentality for it, right? Like the best FMA clients that I know in sales, yes, there's been some coaching on sales, but we just dialed the notch up 20%. Instead of doing 50 calls a day, just give me 75. Let's watch what happens. Oh my God, Luke, I'm making more sales.
Really?
Well, funny that, isn't it? I shoot more shots at the goal, I'm scoring more. Well, yeah, maybe you've got to refine your shooting, but 1,000 bad shots is going to be 10 great shots.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to score more goals. So again, having the database or not, having the new leads or not, if you're calling once a day or you do 30 minutes of calling a day, everything we've said is out of the window. You've got a problem. Like, you've got a problem with what you're committing, right, to sales. That's the end of that. Again, it's not about what's my cadence like, or I call these people once every 3 months and I get new leads and I call them once over 7 days. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Call more.
So I think some takeaways from this podcast is, one, like, work on changing your belief and mindset around sales. I can't think of anyone that has changed their mindset around sales and made less money in their business.
Me neither. Yeah.
You know, is there anyone that stands out? Oh, I actually made less money by adopting this mindset. Absolutely not. Number 2 is just like to be consistent in doing the boring things.
Yes.
Do the boring things that are proven to work and do them over and over again. It's just like training in the gym. You follow a program, you do the same things again and again and again, and you like narrowly increase, the weight, the volume, whatever it is, and you start to get results.
Yeah.
And then number 3 is, I would say, if there was a big takeaway, would be to focus on the leads that you have in your business right now, as well as the new ones. Like you're leaving a lot of money on the table if you are not focusing on the database you have and just the new ones. Anything else from you as like a final takeaway?
2 things. I would just challenge anyone listening that's taking this seriously, just dial the notch up on, look at your activity. And firstly, if you don't have that activity of like your dials per day and things like that already, like big red flag, like start tracking that. But just up what you think you're doing by 20% and watch what happens. Just do that for the next 30 days and you'll thank me. But I'd like to just leave you with a quote from someone I've learned a lot in sales from, that I think really rings true for the fitness industry when we're talking about beliefs, which is, if you prioritize your own comfort over someone else's transformation, that is the pure definition of being selfish. And I'm not in this industry to be selfish, is the exact quote. And I love saying that to people in the fitness industry that hate sales.
That was a very good line to end on. Luke, thank you for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode of the Fitness Marketing Agency podcast and are looking to grow and scale your fitness business, then we can potentially help. If you visit fmademo.co, you can go ahead and book a call with the FMA team. Within that call, we will audit your business and your marketing process. And if we feel we can help you grow your business, we will show you the exact strategy that we are utilizing for 400 plus gyms across the world right now to show you how you can grow your business. So all you need to do is visit fmademo.co.